with hundreds of thousands of followers, over 30 locations all over the world, from Spain to the US to the UK to now even Dubai.
Our mindset from the first 6 months was let's grow, let's scale. And the most obvious way to do that was to find people that we could work with. And that's been our secret to success, finding good people to collaborate with, like-minded individuals that share the same passion. We are the founders and the originators of Menspire, but we have got some incredible people in the company now that really, fly the flag for us.
Now, entrepreneurship is a lot more than just making money. It's about the brotherhood, it's about growing, it's about giving more to the marketplace and actually becoming the best version of yourself within the business.
If you're my client and you've come to me, the first thing I'm going to ask you is how you're feeling about your hair. If I say to you, what are we doing today? Chances are you might go off and ramble on about, I want this and I want that and I want this. All of a sudden you're telling me that you want a haircut like David Beckham and you've got a head shape like Shrek. Chances are that's not going to happen.
I get it.
If you give them the ownership of them believing they can have whatever they like because you've just said, what are we doing today? Chances are they can go off on a tangent.
We both became Muslim just as we opened our shop. 11 years ago, becoming Muslim was a big deal. We would go to Ibiza like numerous times through the summer. We were involved more in the house scene and we kind of dropped a lot of that lifestyle, became Muslim, and then really and truly we were able to be tunnel vision, Menspire.
I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but it's something like 90% of businesses fail in the first year. So therefore, the percentage that make it to the year 10, which you have just now, it's a decimal. What do you think contributed to 10 years in business, especially as a partnership?
Good question.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode. We have it's our first Ramadan podcast. We just broke our fast maybe 10 minutes ago, so you'll hear it in the voice. But I'm joined by two gentlemen. We have Josh on my left and then we have Sam over here. Together they have created a brand you may have come across called Menspire. So I'm going to throw it over to you gents right away just to quickly explain what Menspire is and very briefly your journey and what it is that you do.
Sure.
I'll let you start.
So Menspire represents a transition between men's hairdressing and barbering. So what we know from barbering is, a traditional walk-in service from years ago where people would roll in, get their hair cut and receive, adequate haircut. Today we represent men's hairdressing and a very, very evolved style of service where people come in and have their haircut, they feel refreshed, we serve drinks and have a comfortable waiting environment, appointment based in fact. So it's a revolution to the industry in terms of offering service.
The more premium experience and more on the customer service. Yeah, I remember when I was younger and I used to get a haircut, it would be the typical one down the road. At the time, it was like £6-7 for a trim, and it'd just be...
Those were the days.
You don't even book an appointment, you just turn up and then wait. If it's 5 people, 2 people, you just sit, wait your turn. You
might even get a
hair all over the floor, hair on the table, and then random music playing, which was probably from a Argos speaker, and you just get your haircut and leave, and that was the experience. But now actually coming to Dubai has been a different exposure that I've had, which is the more experience-based stuff. And my reference point is dentistry, where we have the NHS, which is just bums on seats as quickly as you can. It's not quality care necessarily, it's just quick care. Get through, especially through COVID, there's a backlog. And then you have private care, which is you have an appointment, they take the time to understand you, what you want, your life, what your smile means to you, and then actually giving you custom work. And it seems like that's kind of the echelon you've been aiming for, which is the more premium experience.
Certainly. It was interesting because when we set up, how the industry was then is very different to what it is now, obviously 10 years ago. But we kind of saw a gap in the market where there was either the barber shop like you described, or there was the hair salon. There wasn't sort of like a middle ground. So guys that were really into their hair, and we knew these guys, it would be the case of you'd go to the barber shop to maybe get a fade, and then you maybe go to Tony and Guy to get the top cut, because it was like the barber shop couldn't necessarily do the full shebang. They could do a beautiful fade, but they didn't know how to use scissors. So it was like, I knew people who kind of mixed it up. So we saw the gap in the market. It didn't exist like a men's salon. It was either barbershop or hair salon.
I see,
so we attacked the market and basically created Menspire Male Image and Grooming, which was now a very normal practice that we see, which is, like Josh said, it's somewhere you can book an appointment, you get offered refreshments, you can get your hair washed, you have your hair cut by someone that's qualified, very, very good, beautiful atmosphere. We don't play music in our salon, so we've created a beautiful atmosphere, that we encourage conversation.
Oh, nice, okay.
And it's a very comfortable atmosphere, which is very welcoming for everyone and anyone. So, like I said, it's not the most unique concept now, because we've seen, over the last 10 years, it really, really grow. But when we first initially set up, it didn't really exist. So we kind of entered the market, like I said, 10 years ago. And although it sounds like a basic concept, men really, really liked it. You know, being able to book an appointment, being able to get, you know, a great haircut, great blow dry, great feeling in a great atmosphere, great environment.
Well, great businesses don't need to be like reinventing the wheel.
Absolutely.
It's just obvious things are great businesses.
Yeah.
And it's just at the time it wasn't something that
Just
was
tweak
the norm.
certain things.
Yep.
I come from the salon background, so when I left school, I started working in hair salons. I was fortunate enough to work in a hair salon that was based in Knightsbridge and Mayfair, and I worked in the academy based in Knightsbridge. So I dealt with a lot of ladies of lunch, let's say. So I was dealing with the upper class community, which gave me a great foundation of learning how to deal with these type of people and having a great level of service, being able to communicate with these people, basically being able to service people. And we kind of brought that kind of vibe in and made it a more masculine thing, I suppose. So service is a huge thing. You know, how people are greeted when they come into the shop, how they're spoken to in the chair, how, you know, our service when they leave, we reschedule them. All these little tweaks, which might sound obvious to people, but it didn't really exist before. So we basically we mixed the hair salon, the ladies' hair salon, barbershop, made it together.
This ladies of leisure, ladies of lunch, let's call it. Do you feel like it was part of their socializing thing? They'd come as a friend, or they wouldn't come just to get their hair done and leave? It was part of their day and experience.
From what I saw and witnessed, a lot of these people haven't got maybe a huge amount to do during the day, so pop into the hair salon to get your hair washed and blow dry. Very normal. And fair play, if that's what lifestyle is, fair play. But it was ladies of lunch. They'd go to Harrods for some shopping, come into the shop for a blow dry, then they'd go for some dinner next door, perhaps. And at the time, I didn't maybe see the value in the location I was, but after leaving and understanding how I could talk to these people, how I could, you know, actively work in these environments and get on with these type of people, and like I said, service them. Not to be like a waiter or anything like that, but learning how to talk to people, learning how they want to be treated, and people, you know, I say upper class people, very high standards. So I think I was very grateful to sort of go through that route and learning, you know, that high level of service, I suppose.
Yeah, especially because you're doing a premium brand feel. Yes. The price point isn't necessarily of that. So you've done a hybrid, let's say, but you've brought that experience from Mayfair and these kind of clients. When you have done now many franchises into locations that are not necessarily Mayfair, Knightsbridge, but more regular locations, but you're still having this, like an Emirates experience. You're having this first class experience, but the price point is in the middle. It's not £100, £200 per haircut. It's still a reasonable one. Franchising out, first of all, talk to me about the franchising experience. So you have how many locations?
In this day and age, prop firms is the best opportunity for traders, but the problem with prop firms is a lot of them have major red flags. Too large commission, too large spread, huge percentage gain targets. Alpha Capital, on the other hand, has some of the best trading conditions in the industry with $0 commissions, minimal slippage, very competitive spreads, and Alpha Capital is one of the few prop firms that has never denied a payout, and they have a clean reputation, which is why I'm proud to be working alongside them. Using the link in the description or the code TOT, you can go ahead and get any challenge for 30% off.
So we've got 31 and counting. We have about 3 or 4 that's due to open within the next couple of months, which is really exciting. We've got amazing locations due to open: Malaysia, Singapore, Milan, Tenerife, all in the next sort of month or so. So some incredible locations.
And where's the flagship location?
Flagship, St Albans is where we're from. St Albans, So that's where we're from. And then our second one was Dublin, Ireland. So our second location it wasn't a franchise, it was a partnership. So second location was international straight away, which was set a good tone. Myself and Joshua, when we started, even in the first year of business, we were very much active and looking for people that wanted to collaborate with us, partnerships. It was what we were looking for instantly. We had someone called Mustafa who wanted to open in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and we're talking about 9 years ago now, when our brand and business was actually very, very minute. But I think because we were quite clever with social media, Instagram, Twitter, we obviously portrayed a fantastic brand, which was an incredible brand, but it was very, very early on. And the reason I mention it is our mindset from, you know, the first 6 months was let's grow, let's scale, let's find people that, you know, on the same page as us. That didn't work out, no problem. But that was very much we entered the market of this one shop is great, but we've got really big goals and plans here. Let's figure out how we can do it. And the most obvious way to do that was to find people that we could work with. And that's been our secret to success the whole way, finding good people to collaborate with, partnerships, franchisees, and finding like-minded individuals that share the same passion, have the same goals as us. And really and truly, we are the founders and the originators of Menspire, but we have got some incredible people in the company now that really, fly the flag for us.
So you have the franchisees, and of the 31 locations, I imagine majority are franchisees.
Now they are, yeah.
And the franchisee, are they typical business entrepreneurs, or are they hairdressers and groomers that elevated to now become business owners?
We have a mixture. Predominantly, they're barbers, they're hairdressers that are / businessmen. So they're generally barbers, people who've had, want to open one shop, or we've actually taken over a number of people's shops, people who've obviously doing well, but they've thought, actually, if I team up with these guys, they offer education, product line, development, X, Y, and Z. So we've been very fortunate that we've taken over a few people's shops and partnered up with these people.
The reason I wanted to ask, because from their perspective, they're embodying a brand.
Yes.
So they have that brand essence, which is why they want to work with you guys. But on your guys' side, apart from them taking the risk, it's also access to their client base, which is your win, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I think about brands, let's say, or franchises across plenty come to mind, and usually food and beverage ones.
Sure.
But the idea being, you're used to that brand. So when I travel to another city, I know, okay, that shop's familiar. I know what their products are like. I'm used to it. And that familiarity makes me feel like home away from home.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the vibe you want with Menspire? That if I'm traveling to Dublin or I'm traveling to Dubai, I can trust my local barber, and therefore I can trust the franchise one? Or is it more just you want to just expand because... Is it for that same customer traveling?
It should be all the same thing. And you know, one of the most beautiful things is one of our clients from a salon goes to another country and visited another salon and gives us a report back saying how the same thing is just as great as it was in the UK. So definitely they should replicate
regularly as well.
It does happen regularly.
It does,
It should definitely replicate each one. Obviously, there's a little twist and turn. Some countries, in Portland, America, maybe a little bit of a different vibe than you might get in Napoli in Italy. But really and truly, it's all the same essence.
And how do you standardize the craftsmanship, the actual cutting the hair
all
portion?
through training, all through education.
It's more where Josh steps in with the actual more technical hair side of things.
We have a curriculum that we make sure that people are provided with to make sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone understands the level of standardization that we must obtain in order to have the quality that we need to keep on pushing forward.
So is that therefore a requirement that if you have to be a Menspire barber, you have to go through certain education with yourself?
Yeah, ultimately, when someone opens a shop, naturally it's our objective to make sure that they are upon the right standard. So everyone's slightly individual in terms of some people might be good at longer hair, some people might be good at shorter hair. So we kind of just make sure that everyone's hitting the same level throughout, really. But you're always going to find people that are naturally better at one specific thing because they might just enjoy doing shorter hair or afro hair or whatever. But across the board, it's really important that all the skills are completely, level. Yeah.
When it comes to the word brand, it's a very powerful word. And when I think about brands, you have the huge conglomerates that exist, and big investors also notice the power of a brand. For example, Charlie Munger, who just passed away, Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett. In his dying statements, let's say, he mentioned the power of a brand, and actually, I think Berkshire Hathaway, which I don't know how many billions, but I think 30 or 40% of their portfolio is just Apple. And the reason they chose Apple is because they know that they can charge above normal prices for normal products. iPhone, for example, simply for that brand factor. And therefore, knowing that brand goes a long way, the brands we wear in clothing and everything, we don't need to, brand means a lot. So when it comes to Menspire, it is a brand, therefore, and there's other places that do good craftsmanship. You have your local £10 haircut, but then you have the local £30, £50 haircut. Yeah. So you can always find good talent, but you're trying to build a brand, which means a lot more than just good craftsmanship. So I want to understand, what does Menspire mean as a brand, and what is brand to you guys?
I think for us, brand is everything. It gives us the opportunity to have a community, not only within our colleagues, but the whole industry itself. We are a group that people look up to, at the industry. So we ultimately have paved the way for people to put their prices up, for people to become a brand, because everything else before was just a barbershop. You would have been something name barbershop. But, the integrity came from Sam, where this whole brand idea came from. and which I hugely respect, because I would have been sitting at the table thinking, yeah, we're going to do amazing haircuts and we're going to be this barbershop. But until Sam came through and made me understand it in a different way, that this brand is something that can live onwards. And I think that's why we didn't ever put Sam Palmer above the door or Josh LaMonica above the door. It was never about Sam or Josh. It was about two guys coming together, creating something for the men's industry. And that's why our brand name became Menspire, because we were inspired by doing men's hair, and we wanted something to live on so that when we go, it's still there. And that is ultimately the legacy,
Fair enough. And now with franchising, obviously we mentioned off camera that you want to keep it simple, because the more services you add, when you add in dyeing and facial care and all these things, you add a level of complexity, and obviously education is the solution to that. But it seems like you've toyed with both ends of the spectrum, keeping it very simple, keeping it complicated. And where have you landed now, specifically with the model of franchising and now having external people that are representing your name and your brand, which is obviously a very personal thing to you as it's your baby. What does that process look like when you are training them? So you are bringing a standardization, but at the end of the day, there's also a lot of things that they could be doing in terms of how they are selling it, how they are communicating, especially if there's no music, the vibe they have with their clients, all of these things, which obviously is representation of your brand. It's the idea of quality control beyond just the haircutting, but sales and all of these things, and then complexity in franchising.
I think to answer that in a way that we basically look for good people to work with, good character, and we have, from our experiences, learned the kind of people that we want to work with, and we kind of vet people in a very personal way, and it's a way that you can't necessarily always describe, but you can judge someone through their social media somewhat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Somewhat. You can have a coffee with someone and maybe get to know them a little bit better. And I think it's about the process of getting to know people and getting to understand what they're all about. And if you've got the right feeling about them and what they're saying they want to do and what they're able, and you quiz them and run through certain sort of practices to kind of try to understand them more. I think that's the answer of how we kind of keep everything upon the same thing, but finding the right people. Because, alhamdulillah, we're in a good position where a lot of people get in contact about franchising partnerships. But we were very selective with who we pick because of other experiences and stuff that we've been through. So I feel like by picking the right people is ultimately how we keep everything streamlined and on the same page. And it's quite easy for us to say no to someone now and yes to people. We know the difference between someone who's a Menspire partner and someone who's not. Like I said, you can judge from social media, but we get to know people. We take time. I have phone calls, like I said, coffee, maybe a lunch. And the whole time, I'm not judging them, but I'm taking a lot in and just trying to work out if this person is on the same page as us. So I think that's how we kind of keep things streamlined and everyone kind of understands and represents the brand. I think you have to understand the brand first and foremost. Some people do, some people don't. The ones that do and then tick the boxes, they're the ones that we kind of work on. And we hire good character, we hire good people, we train them later. For us, it's so much more valuable having someone that shows up who's a great person, that we get the right feeling, they've got good energy about them, same goals. That's more valuable than someone who shows up who's the best local hairdresser who's got however many clients and the revenue that they can provide. For us, the value is the good person. We're in a good position where Josh can work on the technical side of things. I can work on the more mentoring, on the development side of things. So that's really the secret to success is and getting the right partners is just vetting them and making sure these people really are on the same page as us.
Yeah, I think a lot of our success with our partners have come from education. We think back to Glenn McGoldrick, Luca Perillo, Kyle, Christian, Jeffrey, Jay. A lot of them have come through our education, so they've kind of seen what the brand's about. So they've got an idea of what we're all about, our vision, our taste for hair. And then ultimately from there, it's about mentoring, or Sam's part, mentoring them into becoming the manager, becoming, the boss, the operator, so they kind of, we've had a lot of success from them just enjoying the brand, enjoying what we do, enjoying the style. To eventually understanding that actually there is much more to it than just cutting hair. There's like a whole business there that's available.
That's what I wanted to ask, because not necessarily the best local hairdresser could be the best partner, because one thing is cutting hair, next thing is owning a business or being a franchise owner or franchisee, sorry. So when you are a franchisee owner, what kind of skills would somebody need beyond just good at cutting hair?
Leadership, number one. Number one is good leadership. You know, in order for your staff to respect you, it's got to be number one. You know, you have to have good time management for sure. Number two, being able to have good time management to you know, control all areas of the business, behind the scenes with your paperwork, with your admin, with your administration, etc. Good emotional intelligence. Number three, that is very important. The reason why that important is because you have 4 different barbers, say, for example, in your team, who maybe have different characters, different things going on, and ultimately you have to coach. You have to play daddy, you know. Right or wrong, that's just the role that you're going to have to take on. You know, so they're the 3 things that I would say that are key for a partner to have if they want to be successful and really, really grow with us.
How important do you believe sales is within the hairdressing world? Is it kind of like the customer comes in and says, I want this, and you just give them what they want? Or is there an element of showing them what they need, or upselling them on different services and so forth? Or is it just so the customer is right?
That's consultation.
Okay.
So that for us, just like your dentistry, having that consultation is key. And now across the board of all of the salons, that is the first thing we teach before any cutting. Even in our courses, before any cutting happens, that's key. Okay. Because that ultimately is the communication between the stylist and the customer. Now, if you can't get that right, the chances are that haircut ain't going to get right. So we have a 7-step formula that we carry for every single person within the company that knows that if they follow those steps, what's going to happen? They're going to have a successful communication. And if they have successful communication, the haircut is going to be very well balanced and on point. The same way that Starbucks maybe, or Hilton Hotel, they will give the employees this protocol that they must follow. And if they follow this protocol, there's going to be, at the end, a happy customer. So when we talk about branding, there's no difference between these successful companies. We're just doing it for hair. And that comes down to only one key strategy. That's consultation. We have so many structures and strategies that we have within the whole concept of this business. But that one is it's like a handbook for the staff.
I get it, because when it comes to your hair is a very personal thing, and whenever I travel, I don't want to get a haircut. I get a haircut the day I leave, and then the day I return home. Simply the fact I want to avoid a haircut abroad. Because one thing is just a haircut that does the job, and a lot of the time your friends won't even notice the difference, but we will. As an individual, you will. So for that reason, it's like dentistry, where the smile is such a huge impact on an appearance, such as the hair. So when it comes to that, I completely get you need to have a consultation element. Is that done on every appointment, or is that a separate consultation session?
On every appointment, yeah. But if for a new customer, that 7-step has to be in place. For a returning customer, that will be slightly tweaked.
What would be some of those points in the 7 steps?
So, for example, let's say if you're my client and you've come to me, the first thing I'm going to ask you is how you're feeling about your hair. If I say to you, what are we doing today? Chances are you might go off and ramble on about, I want this and I want that and I want this. And all of a sudden you're telling me that you want a haircut like David Beckham and you've got a head shape or a face shape like Shrek. Chances are that's not going to happen.
I get it.
And it does happen. It does happen. You know, if you give them the ownership of them believing they can have whatever they like because you've just said, what we're doing today, chances are they can go off on a tangent. But if I say to you, look, how are you feeling about your hair today? Now I'm directing myself into your personal space, which means that you can only tell me the problems that you have with your hair or the things that you like about your hair. So that's what goes next. What do you like? What do you dislike? Ultimately, when someone comes back, they're a regular client, we wouldn't say, how are you feeling about your hair today? We might say, how was your last service? How does it feel? Did you come across any problems or errors or anything you'd like to change? So you can see they're very small, significant changes. But if we just say to a customer, hey, usual again, the chances are this is what happens. The more and more you say that, same, the more and more that happens is they will eventually get to the end of the year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And you know what happens at the beginning of the year? People want new year, new me. And sometimes new year, new me also means new haircut. So when they say new year, new me, new haircut, they also think new barber. Because they think their barber is only giving the same. Usual, same again. because they have no idea that actually that barber has so much more skill in the locker, but because their consultation is falling short, it's not offered to them. So when that new year, new me, new haircut, new barber comes along, you're out.
You lose a customer.
And
yeah.
you see them in the supermarket 8 weeks later when you haven't cut their hair for so long, and you're like, wow.
That must be heartbreaking when you see
Of
it.
course. With a new haircut, I've never done that. I've never seen him look like that before. He looked good.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And it happens.
This brings me on to a topic I didn't think I was going to talk about, but it's kind of showing. So I wanted to ask. I remember when we were doing when we were learning about veneers and different tooth styles for the face. So if someone has a very circular face versus long face versus a wide face, you would have a different look in the teeth. And then based on when they smile, how wide their smile is, how much of the corridors you can see, the dark spaces. Cool. You'd have to have you can't just say these are good teeth, these are bad teeth. These are good teeth for this face or
That's
that face. So therefore, with haircuts, what would be, let's say I've got a face like this, what would be the best haircuts for that face type or for that face type? And what are you considering? Is it just shape or is it also nose, ears or
so
other things?
everything is about beauty and symmetry. You know, if you look on the billboards, you look at the Stone Island billboards, you look at all of the branded billboards, all of the models that they use are symmetrical.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the average Joe that comes into your shop is not that. So that's now where we have to use our intelligence of what we do, which is finding balance and finding symmetry within the face shape, the head shape. Not only that, but also the tribe and how they're dressed. So there's actually so much more to it than just the hair that we have to consider when it comes to actually creating an image and an identity for that particular person. And I think that's why we've become so successful, is because we've encountered that. And we're not just the barbershop that just takes off a little bit of your hair, which is called a trim. Okay, what we're doing really ultimately is, clarifying and giving the client an understanding of who they are as a person, who they want to become as a person, how they want to appear as a person. Really understanding their identity is what's important to us. So, in general terms, you could say, if someone's got a round face shape, you're not going to give them a round hair shape because then they'll end up looking like a football. Or if someone has a square face shape and you give them like really strong corners, all of a sudden they're going to look like a Lego head or meathead, as we say. So it's about really sort of balancing it out and understanding the harmony, the synergy between the hair, the head, the face shape, the tribe, etc. So there's a lot to go into it.
There's a place in Holborn, I remember now, I think it was one of the best haircuts I had in my life, where I was typically getting just the local fade, and they would always do the same. And one comment I have is, because they would always take the same off the top, it was just a regular thing, like, I don't know, a centimeter. I was looking back at some of my pictures the other day, and what I realized is because they're always taking a centimeter off, but sometimes I'll go back every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month, but they're always taking off a centimeter. I remember by the end of the year, the top was way longer than the start of the year, but they would always cut the same amount. They weren't balancing it out because maybe they don't remember. And then I went to this place in Holborn, and it was probably a more grooming salon kind of thing. And he was like, can I try something new? I was like, okay, I'll take your lead. And he was like, I'm going to bring your fade a little bit lower. I was like, okay, interesting. And then when I looked at it, he explained, he was like, you have a bone here. And when you take the fade above the bone, it gives a weird shadow because your head isn't, it's got a bump there. So he did it around that bone, and then it looked way cleaner.
It's a great
so
example.
I've always gone to whenever I've gone to a new hairdresser, I was like, I show them that picture from 2018 or something. I'm like, you see this bone?
Yes,
around it.
hide it, keep it low.
Yeah.
Great example.
But it's the idea of, you got to have someone that knows, and you got to have someone that can have a conversation with you. And therefore you can justify I would happily pay a premium price for that.
That's someone doing their job right, because some barbers wouldn't even think about it, be aware of it, or care about it, and will just take really high, even go into your crown and not even take the time to explain to you, actually, if you were to drop it a bit lower here and it might look a bit softer, it might grow out quicker, but it's going to look so much better for you. It goes a long way, and you obviously noticed that you took a picture and you still use it as a reference, so that's someone doing their job correctly.
Fair enough.
I think that there's just quickly going back into that before we move on. There's two things that I'll always teach to our students, and that's to either embrace or disguise. So if someone's got a big nose, big ears, or high forehead, we have to figure out, what do we want to do? We want to embrace, or do we want to disguise? How many people are conscious of their recession? They're losing hair, especially male pattern baldness, very, very significant in our industry. And there are a lot of things that can expose that. If you don't cut it right, if you don't do it technically correct, you will expose that area. Or if you are working with intelligence, chances are you're going to work with that to make sure that you're disguising that. So again, that's where the sort of intelligence comes into the haircutting thing that I think that, you know, we've been able to master as a company to help filter into our staff to make sure that we have happy customers, which in turn get sales.
Yep. I imagine in the earlier days, the franchise model was useful for cash flow. You can partner up with someone, they also take a bit of risk off you, and then it's a semi-partnership and you get a royalty or a fee off top line revenue. Now that you have many locations and, you know, the cash flow is better, why do you still prefer to take a franchise route as opposed to just using the cash flow and then having your own locations? It's slower, but just taking that route. Is that an active decision?
Absolutely. So we own a number of shops locally that are ours. You know, our name's above the door, our name's on the lease. We invested into it. If it all goes wrong, it will fall onto us. So we have a number of them, and it got to the point that we don't want to continue building, you know, all this risk upon us and liability upon us. After you do a couple, you think, you know, if it all does go wrong, there's another lockdown or whatever, something crazy, and it all goes wrong, it's all going to fall onto me. One small element of it. The other part is that you've got to put your hand in your pocket each time. You've got to pay for the legals, you've got to pay for the shop refit, you've got to pay for a lot, and the investment is very large. So again, after doing that a number of times, we're reviewing things and thinking it's not necessarily sustainable to continue growing at the rate we want to by, you know, having to invest into everything. So we discovered the franchise model based on just exploring it and experimenting. So when we first started scaling and growing with new people, we would do partnerships, and we would all be on the same bank account, and we would all share it, and it would kind of be, you know, like that. And you know, in business and in life, sometimes that goes like that, and sometimes you can move away from working with certain people. So after closing a number of shops down for whatever reason, based on the partnership setup, it was just a bit messy, really, having to close down, you know, a company's house and removing yourselves off the bank. And it's very personal also sharing a bank with someone. And we also ran into the risk of, you know, sharing a bank with partners, you know, so say in Scotland or in Ireland or wherever. These partners could, you know, for example, they could go out and they could take the team out. They could use the Salon bank card, and they could treat everyone for dinner. No problem. We would say that's fine, enjoy. But if that became a habit, and then maybe they went to the shop and they brought something for the house without thinking, use the bank card, or it basically opens you up for a lot of risk. So that those sort of 2 points plus other points kind of came to the equation that franchise is certainly the way forward. And to be honest, it's been a game changer for us, and it's the only way that we'd really grow now. We're here in Dubai, we're looking to do this ourselves, but this is really a rarity. We just really want to be in Dubai, so we're willing to put our hand in the pocket and take the responsibility. In terms of all our other growth, it will be based on a franchise model. And really, and being honest, the sweetest part of the franchise model that we discovered years ago was, rather than having to invest 30,000, 40,000 into a shop, wait for that return to come back, which can take some time, this, that, and the other, it was the case of, okay, cool, rather than putting 40,000 into it, I'll charge you 40,000. You can take our name. We're going to mentor you. We're going to give you our education, our academy. We're going to product line. We're going to help you grow. You pay us a fee, and we'll take a smaller percentage off the top number. You have your bank account. It's all going to be in your name. We're not going to be anything. We'll have a contract that will just basically enclose that we have this deal, and it removes all liability. It meant that we were, you know, ultimately we were getting paid before the shop even opened, which was a game changer, because like I said, when you're having to sit around for a year or so waiting for your returns to come back, you know, you find yourself a bit dry sometimes. So in the early stages of scaling, we just figured out that, you know, let's just say the first few franchises, there was no fee involved. It was a simple case, cool, take it, you can pay for the kit out.
Because the brand identity wasn't there yet.
Maybe our confidence within ourselves to be able to put that number on the table. Or maybe, for example, we had 5,000, 10,000 pounds. We opened up in Barcelona, we did this, that, and the other, and we were learning at this point. And now we're just in a position of, we know our value, know what we can bring to someone's life, we can bring to their business. So really and truly being transparent, it just became very sweet being able to get paid from a business that hadn't yet opened when we were before having to wait a long time to get our money, plus facing loads of risks, waiting for our return, this, that, and the other. So the franchise model is absolutely perfect for us. Potentially we can take a little bit less profit, but really and truly when the shops start doing well, you know, our percentage definitely makes sense and we're very comfortable with it. And we'll probably never look back on that. It's been a game changer in terms of cash flow and everything else. And most importantly, you know, it just removes the risk and liability off us, because we can't have 31 shops with our names on for loads of reasons, especially when they're international and we can't be there. So it's your business. it's yours. It's everything's yours. Enjoy it. Bismillah, Menspire is yours. We're just going to take a little royalty monthly from you. And it also gives our partners and franchisees the feeling of it's completely theirs. We just ultimately allowing them, we're licensing our name to them.
It's nice also that they have skin in the game, so
Absolutely.
that they work with passion.
It's essential, because if you haven't, and we've been in that experience before, if you haven't got skin in the game, you're not in it as much as we are. When you put a bit of money and a bit of time into something, you really work for it to make it happen. So even if we were to give someone some equity for free, they're not going to treat that business the same way as if they've had to put their hand in their pocket and invest into it.
Let's say I'm a local, like in Madrid, and Menspire is not in Madrid, if I'm not wrong.
Not yet. No.
So let's say there's no one in Madrid right now, and maybe the name Menspire hasn't reached there yet.
Oh, it definitely has.
Okay.
Has.
Let's say
for example, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm more to say there's a city where the name isn't as prominent.
Yes.
What do I gain by taking a franchise with you guys as opposed to just doing it myself? Therefore, to justify the royalty that I pay.
Certainly. Good question. We're in a really beautiful position that we're not really marketing ourselves so much to look for partners. They're coming to us, and like Josh mentioned, a lot of them are coming for our academy. So they're people that have invested in themselves and their own education.
And trust.
Yeah, they trust.
Do,
and ultimately, alhamdulillah, myself and Josh, we've got a great reputation. We've both been in the industry for 17, 18 years. So we've got a fair bit under our belts. We obviously work together as a duo. Josh is one of the best men's educators in the world. And I'm someone that works much on the business side of things. People can see that and recognize that. So if you can get a mentor that can teach you technically and teach your team technically and make sure that everything technically and haircutting is amazing, then you've got another guy that's focusing purely on the business, making sure that it's going to be profitable. Everyone's laughing, everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. Like, it's a bit of a no-brainer. But it's ultimately, we allow them to find us and invest in us in terms of our education. And, we're very blessed that I think people trust us and have seen our track record, that we're really in it. We really, we care not only about ourselves, but about our teams and our partners. So I feel like people see the value, even if the consumers in the local area, the market won't know us. I think they look beyond that and understand that, okay, well, they've been able to scale over here, five to six shops. Over there, they've scaled. So they have something that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel that the value is kind of unseen. And it's not necessarily, we don't open up and expect all the consumers to run in and say, wow, Menspire's finally here. But we give our partners the tools and the ability to know how to get those people in the door. And I feel that's from, having a good reputation, being in the industry for a long time, and ultimately our track record, alhamdulillah, speaks for itself. We've been able to scale and do great things. I think people see that and recognize it, and we're not out here marketing ourselves, trying to pitch to people. We like people to pitch to us. We like to receive the emails. Hi, Sam and Josh, we would love to do this. We would, that's how, and we're very blessed. We're very blessed that generally I would say people find us.
It's a good question though, because I think we did have that with our American store in Portland with Kyle. Let's face it, there in Portland, consumers don't know who Menspire was, but what we did have was a man that was passionate about our brand, and being able to teach his team, and for them to be able to share our story, our vision, our mission with the clients that do come in. That's when that business becomes repeatable, and that's when he can build that reputation, or build our reputation there in Portland, and inshallah ta'ala throughout America as well.
One thing that I really like about both of you is that you mentioned you started together at a younger age, and you were in a similar stage in life, and you were working in a similar field in the same city and reverting at the same time, all these things. But what I'm noticing is you don't have the same skills. You complement each other. And what I've noticed in a lot of business partners is they're like, okay, we're doing the same thing, so why not partner up? And then they have the same skills, and then they just have to split the pot. Whereas it seems like you're bringing something to the table and you're bringing something else to the table. Was that an intentional decision, or is that something, like, did you plan at that time, like, I'm going to go off and learn these, you learn that, or is it just your natural inclinations came out?
Organically, it's unfolded like this, because really and truly, when we first started, I was doing a lot of hair. I was doing a lot of technical stuff. I was doing a lot of shows. I was in magazines. Josh sort of reached out to me because he'd seen me in sort of a lot of hair magazines, this, that, and the other. He wanted to do what I was doing. And I saw what he was doing, just cutting beautiful men's hair to a way that I didn't know how. And I wanted to do what he was doing. So we came together knowing that we both were doing something that we both wanted to do. And, we wanted to get involved with basically one another. So again, organically came together. And then we both started, I suppose, on the same page, that we're both hairdressers, both very busy. But started, when the first shop started, we were very much on the same page. And then I think things started to change. I realized that actually I don't want to travel and cut hair in front of people and teach people hair. I've got no passion in that. I want to make sure this business is thriving, making money. Everyone who's working in the business is, doing well and well looked after. So again, organically realized that Josh is going to focus on, I suppose, the image of the brand. He's going to travel. He's going to push the academy, the education, and I'm going to focus on making sure these businesses are working. Everyone's happy. Everyone's getting paid. So very much organically, and that now I suppose it's the extreme version of that, where Josh has spent, the last, let's just say, 7 years really traveling the world non-stop. The amount of countries he's been to is mental. I'll let him tell you. But and I've kind of not stayed at home necessarily, but I've kind of focused on the bread and butter, the foundations, making sure that everything in the camp is blessed, which means that he's been able to disappear, no problem. I'm gonna watch this. Yep. I know that I don't need him to be around. The value of Josh isn't him in the salon cutting hair, although it's amazing when he's there. It's pushing, promoting the brand, educating, meeting new people, and being worldwide, basically. So organically, let me focus on what I'm now passionate about, which is building this business. Yes, hair, but not so much. Let me the business side of things, and that's really kind of escalated over the last couple of years. That I'm I still cut hair, but I prefer to be associated and called a businessman, I suppose, rather than a barber, just because that's my passion and that's what I do day in, day out. I cut hair because I love it, and the passion is obviously still there.
The vehicle, yeah.
But the passion of me cutting, talking to everyone what I'm doing, for me, it doesn't exist. But this man here lives and breathes hair, and not only does he do it to students every single day, but even in his free time, late at night, you'll find him in the academy cutting hair, teaching someone, because that's what he does, I suppose. So I think the key word is organic. We both saw that we both were on the same page. We didn't know it would necessarily unfold quite like this, to the point when I was even thinking in the first year, I hope I can definitely, provide as much value as Josh, because he's doing all this stuff and I don't want to do that. I know what I want to do, but it's not that. Alhamdulillah, as we start growing, my role became very clear. I said to Josh, mate, don't worry about the salons. I've got it. You do your thing.
That's how a beautiful partnership should be. It's complete synergy, and you don't need him, and you don't need him. Like you complement each other, and the pie becomes bigger as opposed to trying to split a smaller pie. You make a bigger pie. But another comment is, I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but it's something like 90% of businesses fail in the first year in the UK. I mean,
yes.
So therefore, the percentage that make it to the year 10, which you have just now, it's probably it's a decimal. What do you think contributed to 10 years in business, especially as a partnership, as opposed to a solo entrepreneur venture?
Islam. 100%. I don't think we'd be here together now if it wasn't for the brotherhood that we have.
So absolutely, totally agree. We both became Muslim just as we opened our shop, which has obviously changed our life. We're both, it has an Italian heritage, but we're both English white lads. And then 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 11 years ago, becoming Muslim was a big deal. Alhamdulillah, we see a lot of people reverting stuff now,
it's
but
more normalized now.
It was at a time when there's very much
stigma.
Definitely, massively. So for us to then change our lives rapidly we would go to Ibiza like numerous times through the summer. We were involved more in the house scene and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of dropped a lot of that lifestyle, became Muslim. And then I think really and truly we were able to just be tunnel vision, Menspire. And for our relationship, although it was very strong, I think when you have a bond like that and you go through what we went through, we went to Umrah together, the first 3 months of becoming Muslim, we went through a lot of stuff. We had a lot of very deep conversations. It is life-changing, those times, dealing with our families and our friends and having to answer to everyone why we've become Muslim, all this kind of stuff. It definitely brought us very, very close. And like I said, we don't argue, we don't bicker, we don't fall out. We have a lot of respect for each other, and really and truly, I would definitely say Islam is the concrete to our relationship, to the point we know we're not going to ever do each other over. We don't fear each other, we fear our Lord, and we know that He's never going to do me wrong, I'm not going to do him wrong, and that gives us a real sense of I suppose, tranquility. And we just know, alhamdulillah, we've got each other's back, and when He needs me, I'm there, and vice versa. So I would say,
love it so much. I had another gentleman on the pod, and he had partners too, and I asked him a similar question, and his answer was the same. He was like, I don't want to have people, they can have a low moment in life and think selfishly, or they might just skim off the top or whatever. You can't always rely on someone's honesty, no matter how well you know them, because as you hear these stories of family feuds or businesses going apart, it's your best friend or it's your brother or it's your cousin or it's your uncle. It's always the people closest to you. So the relationship is not the thing that should tie people together. But he was like, if my partner fears God, then I don't need to worry. He's not going to do me wrong, not for me, it's all for himself. He's not going to do it because he truly fears God. And then there's an Arabic saying, I think, which is whenever you enter a friendship or a relationship, romantic relationship, it's like a rope where you have the things interconnecting. If you can add the third one, which is God, into your friendship, into your relationship, it will always be a stronger rope. And I think that probably applies to business too, with your business partners. If you can bring in God into that,
Certainly.
It makes it a lot stronger bond. I love the answer. I think that was probably the best answer you could have given. So talk to me a little bit about the journey of reversion, especially at a time when there is a stigma around it, and the lifestyle you were previously living. This is now, it's a very inconvenient thing to do. You're dropping worldly desires. You're doing the unpopular thing at the time, and you're doing a full 180 in your life. What drove you both to do something like that?
I think for us, we saw what was happening with current affairs. You know, we come across so-called conspiracies that led us to deepening our understanding of what was going on in the world, to be honest with you, especially myself, you know, from a spiritual perspective. For me, I had a girlfriend whose nan passed away, which led me into understanding, like, you know, why is she in so much pain and anger about this death? And I think that's where it led me to understand more about death and, you know, the spirit molecule and everything that side, you know. That for me is when I started to sort of look around and tried to understand, you know, the afterlife. And through that brought me religion, history, science, and everything around it.
And it's something you did together, or it was individual journey to reversion?
So my answer was a little more complex in the terms of I had some really crazy out-of-body experiences, lots of crazy, almost like black magic style experiences where I would leave my body. I would basically have jinn, crazy spirits, and loads of, I won't go into it too much on the podcast maybe, but I had like a spiritual awakening, like almost I was haunted by jinn, and I would have these meetings with these spiritual beings, which makes me sound maybe crazy to some people, but this is something that
I've heard stories like
this.
Of
course.
Yeah,
and if you know, you know, of course.
Yes.
But definitely, as I say on certain podcasts, just to not make myself look like a nutcase, just at the end of it, went through a whole load of stuff, you know, really. I went from being an atheist, not even aware of God, not even caring, lost in the dunya, just into the wrong things. And alhamdulillah, became spiritual, and very spiritual, understanding that there was a bit more going on, understanding that I needed to discover a little bit more about why I'm here. I didn't really like the answer of this evolution thing, that there's nothing more. I needed to find my purpose. So I went out on a journey looking through Buddhism, Christianity, Rastafarian, everything, looking for everything. And then one evening it hit me in the face that Islam was the truth. It was the last thing I actually set out to do because, like I said, the stigma and everything else. But the evening that I realised that actually Islam is the only religion that made any kind of sense, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was clearly the last and final prophet, and, you know, talking about all the previous prophets that I knew about from going to a Christian school, one evening, penny dropped, knew that was the thing I had to do. And then after, you know, finding my feet and stuff, becoming Muslim, I thought, you know what, I need to speak to this brother because I know that he is God conscious. He had a crucifix around his neck and stuff. And I remember reading a poem in his book once about God, which I actually at the time thought, this guy's nuts. Why does he believe in God? And I thought, I need to speak to this guy only about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Let me just give him some books, this, that, and the other, and conspiracy things that we studied together and this, that, and the other. And I knew that he was a very smart guy. He took his time. But yeah, I mean, after I took Shahada, I think it was about a month later, off his own back, obviously looking into it and realizing some of the stuff I was sending, and from his own research, it kind of made sense, and took Shahada. And so it was very much like, I did it slightly before him, but it was very much the same time. And then the journey unfolded. We went to India, doing some work in like the orphanages and stuff out there, which was quite a spiritual journey, which was also very good for our personal relationship, but also for our business. We really studied about what we wanted to do with the business, learning how we could grow it, learning the different roles that we needed within the business. So that trip was beautiful. Went to Umrah together, as you can imagine. I know you recently came back. Yes. Just when you go on a trip like that and you share it with someone, it's very, very special. So that was a starting point. And thank God, because if I had to do it alone, it would have been very difficult. But having, you know, a very good friend, brother, and especially my business partner at the time, it was just perfect. I'm so grateful to Allah that He was able to give me someone on that journey, because it could be tough at the start, you know, coming from a family that doesn't understand it and this, that, and the other. So being able to literally go through the same thing together, having each other, the good times and the bad times, but having each other. And alhamdulillah, we don't have these problems with anyone. All these people that maybe questioned it and thought that we'd gone crazy can obviously respect what we're doing now. We've stayed true to it for the last 10 years and inshallah for the rest of our days. And I think we've got the respect of the people that once were questioning us and thinking that we were a bit weird and we were doing strange things. I think by practicing what we preach and doing, the basic stuff, which is praying, being good, being honest, all that kind of stuff, I think we've gained the respect of people. And alhamdulillah, a lot of people who've worked with us have become Muslim. And I feel like dawah in actions has been the most important thing, rather than talking to everyone about this, that and the other. Let's just do it. Let's just live it. Let's go to the mosque. Let's come back happy. Let's go make sure we go Jummah, make sure we're fasting Ramadan, making sure that we're trying to be a good Muslim. And I think that's the power. When we really implemented Islam into our life, people noticed it and thinking, oh wow. And then the success came, alhamdulillah, the success came and people thinking, oh wow. They actually haven't lost all the clients. Like my mum, you're going to lose clients. People don't want to come to you talking about all this stuff. That alhamdulillah, by sticking to the deen and putting that first, closing the shop and going to the mosque to pray our salah, all these little things that people would have thought, why are you closing the shop when you've just opened it? Well, we have to go and pray. What? We did all these things, and alhamdulillah, I feel like by doing these small things, we were rewarded for that.
They say like obviously we do, in our religion we're not supposed to spread it by the sword. It's not the way. It's through dawah, which is speech. But then it's also a case of figureheads. So whether that's a social media presence or just representing yourself in your shop in a business environment, whatever it is. That is your dawah as well. And it doesn't mean talking about the religion. It's just how you act, as you said. And someone would have noticed, like, oh, they always close the shop at prayer time. That's weird. They probably had the thought in their head, like, they're losing money, what idiots. But that thought will come back to them in 10 years when they're in a different mental frame and they'll absorb it in a different way. And that could be a reason they make a decision in their life, which is dawah in itself. But what I'm noticing is the reason potentially you made it to 10 years in business and the strength and the brotherhood you have is obviously I see there's a lot of mutual respect for each other for what you guys do for each other, but it's also bringing religion and God into it, which is the rope analogy. But I think it's also an element of shared sacrifice or a shared journey where you can resonate with each other on a different level. And I think, and I have these kind of relationships too. And you start thinking, well, what else am I going to do? I'm going to go alone, or I'm going to find a new business partner? No, I got my guy. There's that trust, loyalty, respect, and that's how empires are built. I want to come back to the empire that you are building. There's three components to it. So there's the salon element, which we've spoken about, but there's also the education academies, which you spearhead, and then also the product line. Let's delve into those two areas. So first of all, the academy side. So it's physical locations across the UK.
Yep, UK, Ireland, and America, and Amsterdam, Netherlands.
So that's the tour you do when you're never home, let's say.
The tour that I do is literally around the world. These are the physical locations. So when I say around the world, I get invited to do events, to share step-by-step demonstrations or seminars with other barbers, and that can be up from 100 people to 3,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So I've managed.
It's like an expo.
Yeah, like an expo. Yeah. So you have expos as well, and then you have the seminars itself, which is the big sort of Tony Robbins type of thing. Okay, maybe not that big, but just demonstrating to an audience. Almost really is just entertainment, it's show entertainment.
So you should see some of the shows, like you think about him doing a haircut, but it's not that. He's a showman in a respectful way. He will have the whole crowd in Brazil jumping up and down, screaming his name, screaming Menspire, flashing their lights.
Why?
It's just passion.
That's crazy. I need to see this.
I'd have to show you some examples, but
especially in Brazil.
It's certainly not a boring case of him in silence cutting hair. Obviously there's elements of that, but he's created a show. It's much more than just a haircut, and that's the thing that his success has been. Not only is he sharing a lot of wisdom and knowledge, but he's putting on a show. And that's why he stands apart from other people, because yes, he's cutting beautiful hair, incredible finishes, amazing. People can do that, but can they present it and create a show, entertain?
I think what it is the energy. Look, anyone can give you a faux hawk, a mullet, whatever haircut it is. Everyone can replicate that, but not everyone can replicate your energy. And I think when you put that out there, you're not just creating a haircut; you're creating an experience. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I've been able to go to multiple countries and be rebooked multiple times. I've been to Brazil 11 times. I've been to Russia 9 times.
Gosh.
Countless.
Okay.
Especially Brazil. Brazil's crazy. Them guys over there live in such maybe not so much now, but you can imagine there's poverty there, and in order to become a barber is a very successful thing to do. Become a barber in UK is very normal, but to become a barber in Brazil, you can be extremely successful, more successful than a plumber, for example, who would get paid very well in England. In Brazil, barber will get paid more than a plumber.
Interesting.
Okay. And you can imagine, I've been on stage in front of about 2,000 barbers in Brazil, and you think 2,000, it's not a lot, but it sounds like 22,000 when you're there. Like, they go wild. And that's because they have a lot of passion. They have a lot of passion, and they know how much it means. If they get educated, they can charge more, they can do more, they can be more, they can become more. And they just need that someone, that experience that can change their life. So that's what I've been doing for the past 5-6 years around the world. We have physical locations of those which I mentioned before. And ultimately now I am trying to turn it into the digital world as well, so we can utilize that market as well, because even I go to Paraguay and there's people from Paraguay who can't even get to my event, for example, because they just can't afford it. So again, to be able to go online and do what we do is another opportunity for people to really hit all four corners of the globe, far and wide. We're looking at doing a lot more sort of business education as well. So I am trying to take a little step back, push our team forward, so myself and Sam can, move on that as well.
In terms of consulting on people to open their own franchise or manager?
More so for people to, understand, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Great if it comes from it. But ultimately sharing what we know with the industry, because if we can do that, we know by sharing what we know, it can help elevate the industry in itself. So if the industry is leveling up, ultimately that means that we can continue to go up even more, even higher. So ultimately for us, it's not about showing off what we can do, it's about sharing off what we've done.
Sharing off, I like it. What about the power of social media? How utilized is it for you? And is it... my immediate thoughts is obviously social media is astronomically powerful. You can get huge exposure and build a real brand essence. But at the end of the day, if somebody's watching you in one country but they don't have a Menspire nearby, it's fallen on deaf ears kind of thing. Do you still use it? Is it still useful in a franchise environment, or do you stick to local bread and butter kind of marketing?
Yeah, I think our business has been predominantly built over social media.
100%.
We haven't done marketing like people talk about marketing.
There's no marketing budget.
We started off. We probably be yourself as well. Like, I started off in terms of marketing, taking pictures on my Nokia, printing it in the computer, putting it into a folder, red book. That was my marketing, showing people that's my work. Take your pick. Not the old photos of photo books you'd get in the barbershop. Like, this was original, number one. Number two is word of mouth. Letting your friends or letting your clients tell their friends, like, of who you are, what you're doing. But penultimately, when social media came about, when Twitter came about, that's when we merged.
Twitter. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Twitter,
So we were both on Facebook was the first thing, because that's how we connected. I was posting all my haircuts on Facebook. He was posting his haircuts on Facebook. And that was me marketing, because I would get loads of clients, how Facebook worked. So that's actually how we connected, Facebook. But I was watching his fades that he was doing. He was doing all the, the ladies' hair stuff that I was doing. So he started on Facebook. So we connected from Facebook. So that's the first tip for social media. We then obviously went on to Twitter. We both had our own separate accounts. And then we created a Menspire Twitter account, which was our first collaboration, really. So then we would share all the haircuts that we were doing. He was doing it from his grandma's garage. I was doing it from my mum and dad's house. And we would just post, and it would be Menspire. So this brand was born. And all it was two guys that just had a name. Then we had a product line. So we then invested in some products. So we both put a couple £100 in each. And we had a paste and a cream. So then the Menspire, the branding and stuff was done at this point. We had a product together that would then promote off Twitter. Then Instagram came, so we were straight on Instagram. So when we opened our first shop, in 2014, the Instagram account had about 4,500 followers, which is reasonable considering there was no physical shop or anything like that. We had just been building it based off our own separate ventures. I remember people messaging in the comments saying, "How have you got so many followers when you just opened?" It was that kind of time, really early on. So again, Instagram was our main.
It was a catalyst.
It was our main place that we put our energy for marketing. Then they introduced videos into Instagram, and we were the first people in our industry to kind of create step-by-step haircutting. And we had other guys in the team that were doing the same thing. So Twitter was massive for us. When Instagram came along, it was really, really big. And really and truly, we've done a bit of marketing here and there, but our marketing strategy has been, let's just engage in Instagram, our personal brands, of course, but also the brand as well. So we've got Menspire Salon, we've got Menspire Academy, Josh LaMonica's page, my page. And we treat it with a lot of respect because it's a free marketing tool. Yeah. And when I advise people of how to grow, like, you need to be on Instagram, like, really and simple. We all know that now. You know, all the restaurants, everyone's on Instagram. And why would you not be on Instagram? Yeah, you've got the excuses that I spend too much time, I waste time, I look at rubbish. Cool. Well, don't go onto it with an intention that you want to grow something, that you want to scale. And everything you post, have an intention behind it. It's not to show off. It's to show people what you're doing and you know, invite people into what you're doing. So really and truly, social media has been everything to us. The only reason Josh has been able to travel the world and we've been able to make all these international partners is because they've generally discovered us on Instagram. So we can't say it's been anything. There's not through any other way other than Instagram. So we treat it with a lot of respect to this day. I mean, Josh has got a huge following. His personal brand is over 500,000 on his personal Instagram, and then all of our accounts together. You know, it's a good following, and we just treat it with respect. We run it ourselves. He hasn't got anyone running his account, and what he's achieved on his Instagram is insane. And we haven't got anyone running the main account. That's myself. And we just know that we haven't got a marketing budget. Well, we have, but we don't choose to have a marketing budget. We just choose to put our time into social media, and it's worked up until now. And again, occasionally we pay this, that, and the other to do a bit of marketing, but our strength really does come from social media. So yeah, we respect it basically.
What I've noticed, especially as I was mentioning earlier, I have an anchor, which is a very good haircut I had a long time ago, and that's the reference I give to any barber I go to. Probably what has become is a lot of your posts are just like high quality work. So when someone's used to the typical skin fade and then they see this video pop up of a gentleman's haircut, there's a real haircut, they probably want to show it to their barber. Their barber's probably like, they'll give it a try and mess it up. But you have that reference for someone to save and think about, talk about, and even inspire them, Menspire, I guess. Definitely. To change their look or their style. And I think, social media is a very powerful element. In terms of revenue streams, there's multiple, it seems like. What is the predominant one? Is it still the salons and franchising them out, or because I know how lucrative education can also be, or is it products? If they take online orders, for example, that could also be with the social media presence. That could also be a very lucrative venture. Where is the key focus and revenue driver right now, and is that the one you want it to be moving forward as well?
I think they're both very well balanced between salons and education. You know, again, it depends how much we want to push education or products. I think is the one that we really want to push that forward, because that's the one that is the passive. You know, I think that's going to be our main focus for
and recurring. People just buy it.
That's been our main focus. And again, that comes from both education and salon. You know, comes from all of our staff using it, giving them the education about how to use it and how to film it, how to market it, and then that will be our springboard for really, you know, pushing our products through the market. But again, this is very, very new grounds for us in terms of the way that how fast the world is working right now. So it's definitely on our minds and something that we're looking to explore from this year, last year onwards, really. So,
and is Dubai a venture for lifestyle? It seems like you want to live here or end up here at some point, or is it strategic still business makes sense to be out here?
Our plan is, let's get one shop out here moving correctly. And just like we've done with all our other locations, it would be the case of let's scale multiple salons, academy, and products and everything else.
Or making a base.
Definitely making a base. So who knows what the future brings? Obviously, I love Dubai. I think what it offers you is great. Obviously, we had this conversation off camera. Everything that we've set up in terms of our business is in the UK. So we're fairly tied down. But who knows what the future brings? We know that we want to be able to set up in the Middle East. We would love to obviously spend more time in the Middle East. So yeah, inshallah, it will make sense for us one day to come and spend some time out here as we're growing and scaling out here. But I think it would really have to make sense because our base is in the UK, and if we can't be foolish to think that we could just fly out here and it to run the way we'd want it without us being there. So, you know, like I said, inshallah in the future, let's start building here and give us real reason to come out here. But really and truly, I would obviously love to at some point spend some time out here with the family, because I think what it offers you is fantastic. It's great. I love the UK. I'm from the UK. I'm very grateful for everything the UK offers me. I'm never going to crap on the UK or anything like that, but you spend some time in other countries, like you mentioned, the quality of life, the sunshine, the tax, this, that, and the other. Why would you want to sort of tie yourself down to somewhere that doesn't necessarily offer you that? So I think the world is a very big place. I would love to spend some time here. I would love to spend some time in many different places, maybe Malaysia, maybe the States. I think there's a large world there, and I feel like, inshallah, we can put our business there that will give us more reason to spend more time there. So yeah.
Well, the show is called Titans of Tomorrow, and the reason I chose that name is because I like to bring on gentlemen like yourself, or even women. I haven't had a woman guest yet, but I would like. But the idea being, you have people that have achieved a lot, but usually people that have achieved a lot, they don't look back and say, look what I've done. They're always looking forward, which is why Titan was whatever Titan means to you, in the sense that it is entrepreneurship, but always of tomorrow, meaning there's always another mountain to climb. There's always more to do. So you're a decade in business, and you've definitely, both of you have achieved a lot and built an empire. Now, 10 years moving forward, that of tomorrow, what does that of tomorrow look like for Menspire?
Interesting. You mentioned the vehicle. The windscreen of the vehicle is always larger than that of which is behind you. And the reason for that is because you need to have that vision.
I like that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Nice.
10 years.
We're talking about the next 5 years currently. We're so grateful that we've got to this point, a decade in business, and really and truly it feels like we're just getting started. I feel like we've just learnt loads now. So it's like, cool, well, our next steps, we know this, that and the other, so we're in a much greater position. So loads more salons. There's a lot of markets out there that we need to tap into. There's a lot of locations to be open. So salons, alhamdulillah, the momentum is behind the salons now, and they're growing. So more salons, more academy. Products is a massive thing. We've done really well on our products. We could be doing better. So we're getting our heads together on how we can grow that side of the business. So, and also sort of the business, the mentoring side of things, bringing people in to, how we've done what we've done, being able to share that with people. That's something we're kind of focusing on. So I say more of the same because we love it. It's just much bigger. And, 30 salons with a few more are due to open soon. It's great. It's a big number, but it needs to be far, far, far bigger than that, really. The dunya is described as drinking seawater, salt water, that you can drink it. It doesn't really ever quench your thirst. And I have that feeling, but we do it because not only because of the financial benefit, because we love the growth. We love bringing people into our family. We love giving people the opportunity to join our platform and our vehicle and to enjoy that, to be able to, look after themselves, feed their families. That gives us great joy, being able to give people opportunity. So the finances obviously is one side of things, but just the growth and what you get from it, and the family, how we've extended this family bigger and larger. And we have our 10-year anniversary that we're hosting in St. Albans in May. We're going to have about 100 Menspire workers and partners there. And we did that last year in Amsterdam. And when you're in that room and you see all these people, and it really dawns on you, actually what we've built here is huge, and the vibe you get, and all these amazing people, and just more of that. Why not? Much more of that is what we want. And then we've got other little bits and pieces that we're sort of looking at, different options. But really, it's exciting. We get together now after 10 years, and it's just the conversation is just exciting because, like I said, we've learned what we've needed to learn, and we're just we're ready for the future.
The in between that I read from both of you is I only have I think 5 years under my belt in terms of business, but I have that same feeling. I'm just getting started. Absolutely. There's so much to do, so much to achieve, and I probably will feel the same at the 10-year mark. And I think for all of us at the 15-year mark and so forth, it's like there's so much more to do because it's a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger, and then you realize how much more there is to do.
Sure.
I had a conversation with one of my team members yesterday. And he brought this term to me, ikigai. I think I pronounced it correct. And it's this Japanese term, which is like, it's those Venn diagrams, the circles that overlap. So it's like the ideal setup is you want to have obviously money, but that should overlap with passion and freedom. And it was all these circles. And when they all overlap, that's when you have your ikigai. And a lot of people, they have that in other areas. So they get their happiness from their family, then they get their money from their job, and then they get this from this thing. Hobbies is another thing. Whereas for me, I feel so lucky that I've got something where everything overlaps in my main thing.
Interesting.
So I don't need another thing. So I sound boring as hell, but all I do is work and then hang out with friends, and that's about it, and network. And I just think, well, what else am I going to do? Yes, it looks like I'm chasing the money, but no, I have so much fun doing it.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm just getting started, and I see that in both of you too, that you're very passionate about what you do. Monetarily, it's fulfilling as well, but you also have other areas that you're enjoying it from. And 10 years in, which is a massive congrats, but it's just the beginning. So
absolutely,
gents, thank you very much for coming on.
You,
a very insightful conversation, and I wish you all the best. I'm going to keep an eye out for this event. It looks like it's going to be a memorable moment, and having your empire around you and 100 people event is epic stuff. So gents, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Boom, there we go.